thing I need to disclose to the room is that this is how God made my face. I look pretty grumpy and stern and kind of mean. And I promise once you get to know me, that'll go away. But some people have that as a barrier. The second thing I need to do is introduce Joe. Joe, wave to the crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, you should be so proud of what you've already accomplished. And notice I use the word in the past tense. The blood, sweat, and tears of training, the camaraderie with your teams, and yes, very importantly, the fundraising. You should be so proud of what you've already accomplished. My background and my beginnings in LLS were very simple. I got asked to play a golf tournament. And I said yes because of a fun social deal before I even knew that the benefit was Leukemia Lymphoma Society. And what the person didn't know that invited me was that my father passed away from complications of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma in 1997. He never got to walk his 3 beautiful daughters down the aisle. He never got to see his 10 grandchildren and counting grow up. And I made a point in my life that at some point I would do something to change that, to prevent one family, just one, from having to go through what my family went through. And so I was hooked. As my wife would say, my other love affair began when I started participating with LLS. I got on some committees. I was asked to join the board. I was nominated to be vice president of our board of trustees for the state of Iowa, and eventually assumed the role of president last year. Along that timeline, I was also asked to run for Man of the Year. And I don't know if you're familiar with Man of the Year, it's another leg in the stool of LLS's campaigns. Man of the Year is a fundraising competition. It lasts 10 weeks. And it's $1 equals 1 vote, most votes win. And in May of 2011, I raised $125,000 in 10 weeks. And in Iowa, that's a lot of money. In Iowa, you can get a cheeseburger, fries, and a draft beer if you play your cards right for about $6. I just paid $29.50 plus tip in San Diego. In Iowa, the cows really walk down the street, you just kind of usher them in, and 15 minutes later, you get whatever you want. So, if you extrapolate the math, I actually raised like $750 grand when I ran So after that was over in May of 2011, my wife and I set off on our summer. We planned some trips with the kids, Joseph and his little brother Nicholas, and got ready for the birth of our 3rd son, who came lovingly into the world on August 24th of 2011, a Wednesday. Cole Larson Mauser, AKA the Honey Badger. So I don't know if you in the audience here have a honey badger. Honey Badger didn't make the trip to San Diego. Honey Badger didn't get to go on a Disney cruise, but Honey Badger don't care. So we took the Honey Badger home on a Friday, and I was grilling in the backyard and looked up just in time to see my son fall off the swing set. And those of you in the room that have boys, that's not a big deal. Stuff like that happens quite a bit. I scooped him up, took him in the house. The next morning, he was still complaining of a sore wrist. And so my wife said, why don't you take him to the Walgreens clinic and get him checked out? And you in the room that know, when your wife just had a baby 3 days ago, you do what she says. And so I did. I'm not the primary doctor guy, but I did. I took Joe into the pediatric clinic, and the nurse practitioner that looked at Joe wasn't concerned about his wrist. What she was concerned about, these 2 little bumps were in front of his ears. And so she said, why don't you run down to the children's hospital, get him checked out, they'll do an x-ray on his wrist, and they'll also do some blood tests. And in 3 hours on a beautiful Saturday, on the same day as that same golf tournament that I was invited to, my son was diagnosed with T-cell leukemia. Pretty ironic. But this is what a little boy looks like in 2013 because of all of you. father gave a speech, if I was diagnosed with exactly what Joe has, T-cell acute lymphoblastic leukemia, because of the advancements, because of people like you, funds that are raised, clinical trials, they have taken ALL from 0 to 90%, which is pretty impressive. But let me ask you a question. How many of you people in the room have bought or sold a home and got it 90% of the way there, only to have it fail? How many investment bankers and private equity guys out here have bought and sold companies for the 95th percentile and have had the deal fall apart at the closing table? Ladies and gentlemen, the time is now. We have never been closer to curing blood cancers in human history than we are at this very moment. And we need you. We need you. So I want you to know how important this is. This matters. I want to leave you with a quote. It's not from Colin Powell or Abraham Lincoln or Mother Teresa, although a couple of my brother-in-laws might need Mother Teresa tomorrow. It's from a little boy. A couple weeks ago, Joe was talking to his mom, and he said, "Mom, Carson and I are kind of like geese." Carson is a little boy that's about 3 months ahead of Joe in treatment. He's got T-cell leukemia as well. And he said, "Mom, Carson and I are kind of like geese. We're like the geese at the tip of the triangle. And we take on all the headwind so the other geese don't have to." And then he said, "And I'm happy to do it." Feeling you have right now in your soul, that tingling, you're going to feel that tomorrow when you cross the line. And now I've connected these two dots together. So when you go back to your geese, whether it's in Washington, D.C., or Texas, or Florida, or the great state of Iowa, and you're reunited with your geese, you can tell them that Mom and Dad did something special. "Oh yeah, you ran that race." We didn't just run a race. We raised money to cure blood cancer. Because everyone, and I mean everyone, deserves to fly, to walk, to ride, and to run with the wind at your back. I want to give a special shout out to Team Willie K. I'm supposed to inspire you. You guys inspire me. On behalf of the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, thank you. On behalf of a father of a little boy that wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for people like you, thank you. It falls woefully short. And on behalf of Team Training,
thank you for letting me and go team.